The truck driver heard strange sounds coming from his fuel tank. When he cut it open and saw what was inside, he called 911 immediately. Veteran truck driver Marcus Bennett had driven across nearly every state in the country over the past 2 decades, but nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for what he would find inside his own fuel tank during a seemingly routine cargo trip through the arid landscapes of Nevada. It was a hot Thursday afternoon. Marcus had picked up a shipment from Southern California and was en route to Colorado. He had done this route before: long, dry stretches of highway, small desert towns, and the occasional truck stop where he could grab a coffee and rest. As he drove past mile marker 216 on Interstate 15, something began to bother him. A low, rhythmic rattling sound coming from the undercarriage of his rig. At first, he dismissed it. Maybe a piece of road debris had gotten stuck underneath. Happens all the time. But the sound didn't go away. In fact, with each passing mile, it grew louder, more distinct. It wasn't the metallic clink of a rock or the wobble of a loose part. It was irregular. Almost. When Marcus pulled into a mandatory rest area a few hours later, he finally had the chance to check. He crawled beneath his truck and quickly traced the sound to his secondary fuel tank. The main one was full, but the second was only half full, which meant anything loose inside would slosh around. That part made sense. What didn't make sense were the fresh scratch marks around the tank's access panel. He had never noticed those before. They looked deliberate, jagged, almost like someone had tried to pry it open. Curiosity turning to unease, Marcus grabbed his tools. If something was stuck inside and causing damage, he needed to remove it before it compromised the tank. As he sliced into the metal panel, a strange mix of diesel fumes and something foul hit his nose. It wasn't just the usual fuel smell. This was different, rotting, organic. When he opened the access flap and shined his flashlight inside, his entire body went cold. There, floating in the fuel, was a small, waterlogged shoe, pink, with little hearts on the side. Attached to it was what looked like a piece of torn fabric. Marcus leaned closer, thinking it might just be someone's lost luggage, or maybe even a prank, but then he saw it. Just beneath the surface, illuminated in the beam of his flashlight, was a tiny, pale hand. Marcus recoiled, dropping the light. His heart thudded in his ears as he scrambled back. With shaking hands, he grabbed his phone and dialed 911. There's a body in my fuel tank," he stammered. "I think it's a child." Within 20 minutes, Nevada state troopers, local sheriff deputies, and a hazmat team arrived at the scene. The truck was quickly cordoned off. Marcus was pulled aside, questioned, and asked to remain on site. He sat on the edge of the curb, his hands trembling, unable to process what was happening. The hazmat team began draining the fuel tank carefully. After nearly 2 hours of delicate work, they retrieved the body of a young girl, believed to be between 8 and 10 years old. Her body was partially decomposed but clothed, with a faded backpack still slung over one shoulder. The scratches Marcus had noticed earlier? Investigators now believed they were made from the inside. The girl had tried to escape. Marcus was devastated. He had no idea how she could have ended up inside his truck. He was immediately taken in for further questioning, but after reviewing his cargo logs, route tracker, and rest stop history, law enforcement cleared him of any wrongdoing. He was just a witness, a horrified witness. But the question remained: how did a little girl end up inside a sealed fuel tank? Detectives began retracing Marcus's route. They checked rest stops, toll booths, and gas stations for surveillance footage. It was during this process that they uncovered something chilling. At a small truck stop in Barstow, California, a camera had captured a man in a black hoodie sneaking around Marcus's truck late at night, near the secondary fuel tank. That same man was later identified by the FBI as Elias Crowley, a wanted suspect in the disappearance of 3 children over the past 6 months. Crowley had a background in mechanical engineering and had once worked at a trucking company. He knew trucks inside and out. Authorities now believe Crowley had placed the girl, either unconscious or already deceased, inside Marcus's tank while he slept. The motive? Still unknown. Whether he was using the truck to transport bodies, or if it was part of some twisted ritual, remains under investigation. What shocked investigators the most was that the only reason the girl's body was discovered at all was because of the odd sounds Marcus heard. Later forensic analysis revealed that the sloshing of the fuel had caused her small belongings, buttons on her clothes, a pencil case in her bag, to rattle against the tank's metal lining. It created a faint but persistent sound. Marcus, now retired, says he still hears the sound sometimes when he sleeps, that haunting rattle. But he's grateful that he listened to it. He told reporters, "I couldn't save her, but at least she was found. At least someone heard her." And as for Elias Crowley, he's still out there. Some say he vanished into the desert. Others believe he's hiding in plain sight, waiting for his next target. One thing's certain, Marcus will never ignore a strange sound again. Like, subscribe, and comment for more interesting stories like these.